Amicus analysis. Amicus analysis. Amicus analysis. Amicus analysis.
Hello and welcome to Hammerheads, episode 8. We're in 1971. Well, we're not in 1971, we're in a bedroom in Leeds. And
that sounds really sordid, doesn't it? we had separate beds.
My podcasting pal, Miles Watts.
Hello, Marcus Wilson.
And we are here in Leeds for a screening of David Lynch's Fire Walk with Me. And we also watched some rather marvellous musicians playing a tribute to the music of David Lynch.
Is it Simeon Walker and his band?
Yes.
They were amazing. And the singer, I can't remember her name, the singer was incredible. She's doing Julie Cruz songs and really absolutely nailing them. And it's so nice to see some live film music and a screening. It was just amazing.
And this is a rare pleasure because this is the first time that Miles and I, after something like 50 podcasts, have been in the same room together doing
That's true. We did one in the garden, do you remember? For
we did.
Hammerheads. But this is the first time we've been allowed inside. But we're in a nice, cosy hotel room in the centre of Leeds on a morning in December. It's December now, so...
It seems to be a very strange place and time to be talking about the horror movies of Amicus Productions.
Yeah.
During the 1960s and 70s. And we are, as I say, in 1971. This time we're covering The House That Dripped Blood.
Which is kind of how people describe Amicus, isn't it? They sort of say Amicus is the house that dripped blood, the film House That Dripped Blood.
And I always get it confused with The House That Bled to Death, which is a very similar name, but I think a few years later. But it was... that's the film I remember watching in childhood. I hadn't seen this one before, though.
I hadn't either. Now, why is it called The House That Dripped Blood, Mark?
There is not a single drop of blood in the film.
No. It was originally, they wanted to call it Death and the Maiden, didn't they?
Yeah.
Because it related to some of the story. But they said, no, it's got to have The House That Dripped Blood in it. We were in the market. We're in the horror market.
Yes,
so
this is the name of the movie. Go along and make a completely unrelated movie.
Yeah, it's a slightly misleading title, but it is about a house, a cursed house, and it's a portmanteau one. It's probably, so far, I think it's the best and most sort of exemplary of an Amicus portmanteau movie, isn't it? Or would you disagree?
Well, we'll get into that. So Freddie Francis was supposed to be on director duties, but he was busy. So we get a director called Peter Duffel, who's sort of come straight from television, and Milton Subotsky and Rosenberg have seen his work in the Avengers and things and like him. And Christopher Lee actually called him the most underrated British director of all time.
And I think it's very well directed, this movie. You can tell it's got a kind of director's stamp on it. You know, even though there's 5 separate stories, really, because there's a wraparound as well. But they've picked 4 very distinct characters and 4 phenomenal British actors to play the leads in each one. This is what I was so happy with in this film was the characters, the cast. They were it was just like a who's who of brilliant British talent, like the best faces and the best voices.
Yeah,
you know?
It's quite high hitting in terms of the cast now. And there's written by Robert Bloch and a creepy Canadian writer called, well, I don't know if he's creepy, right? He writes creepy stories, but Russ Jones.
Yeah.
Who sort of wrote Creepy magazine article and edited together various magazines. Yeah,
I thought the script was very. I think I was looking at some of the criticism of this film, and it said it's a bit on the nose, and it's a bit like it's not as good as its source material or its influences and stuff like that. But I don't know. I think you can't really judge Amicus that harshly because it's quite camp and it's mainstream horror, so it's sort of like they want to play on tropes. It's the monkey's paw trope, isn't it? And sort of thing. So the folk tales trope. So some of them could come off as a little cheesy, but I think it was a nicely worked out script. Because there's a wraparound with the detective who's sort of doing a investigation on this odd rental house, which looks amazing.
Inspector Holloway of Scotland Yard. A horror movie star called Paul Henderson has disappeared, and Paul Henderson is brought in to investigate his disappearance.
Yeah.
And each of the segments between the main chapters are around him speaking to police or to...
Yeah, I like the fact that each wraparound chapter had him, the first thing he says is, absolute rubbish. Oh, come on. Every time you've watched it, just in case you were thinking, after watching one of the segments, oh, come on. But the detective does it for you, and he's like, oh, come on, am I supposed to believe that, say in the first one, which is Denham Elliott is a writer who's plagued by, he invents a character who's a strangler, and he does a sketch, and he shows his wife, and he's like, oh, this is, and beautiful, beautiful voice, Denham Elliott. He has this beautiful, sort of croaky voice like this. And that sounds more like John Hurt. And he does this picture of this, what's his strangler called?
Dominic.
And he said, I was looking out the window and I saw him, and he roams the land, strangling people, looking for victims and laughing maniacally while he does it. And it's like, oh, that's creepy.
Yeah.
So
he's a writer. He loves Edgar Allan Poe. So he loves that the house has got all of these Poe books when he moves in.
That's it. Yeah, there's a very heavy Poe influence on it. So yeah, and then he starts to be a bit creepy with his writing, and he goes a bit Jack Torrance, and he starts going, I'm starting to think like the Strangler, and Dominic I know how he thinks, and I know he's inside me and all that. And then
it's a bit of The Shining, isn't it?
It is a bit The Shining.
Remote house.
And he's like, and he starts to see what looks like the ghost or the incarnation of this Dominic, and he's this creepy sort of monkey-looking man with big simian teeth and a sort of Oasis in their 60s kind of hairdo, smiling and grinning at him from across a river or out in the road or stuff, and it's actually quite creepy.
And then he has the laugh.
And it's like Mickey Love from League of Gentlemen. And I did laugh a bit. So there is a cheesiness to it, but Denham Elliott sells it, I think.
Yeah.
And his wife is very good. Who's the actress who plays his wife in the first one? I was waiting for Ingrid Pitt, who doesn't turn up till the end. But she was very good, and I did halfway through this first story. He's sitting there in the chair, and she goes, "Where? I can't see anything." And he goes, "Didn't you see a movie moved across the room?" And at that point, I thought, she's in on it, and he's an actor. Yes. I did think at that point.
You did? Okay.
Yeah. I'm like, well, I don't believe her.
It's always when there's like three people in a portmanteau piece. It's like, okay, so there's something different going on here.
Yeah.
It meets the eye.
And so gradually, he starts to see him, and then he starts to have images that this guy is appearing, and at one point he attacks his wife and starts strangling her, and she's like, "No, it was you. Oh. So she's trying to convince, you don't know this, but she's trying to convince him that he is Dominic.
Yes.
And then gradually, goes to see his psychiatrist, the excellent Robert Lang, who's got this fantastic voice. And every impression I do this morning sounds like John Hurt.
It's early in the morning.
Yeah, it is early. And then gradually it sort of comes out that Dominic is killing everybody, and then you gradually realise that she's working with this guy, who's dressed up like Dominic to drive her husband mad and frame him for all these murders.
Yes. And then I think the best part of this segment is the final twist where Alice is like, "Oh, great, darling, we can run away together now." It's like, he says, "Great, Dominic," and he says, "Dominic?
Yes.
Who's Dominic?"
Yes. Yeah, and then he
oh,
laughs.
No, it's not. What's his real name?
His real name, and he goes, "My name's Dominic," and starts giggling. Yeah. So I thought it was like very stagey and silly, but actually quite creepy.
Yes, it was quite creepy.
Seeing this horrible man, it did become funny. Like, actually, so did the John Pertwee one. It had some real genuine sort of scares and creeps in it. I
think Dominic, it's very like Killer Bob in the Lynch film last night. That he's always filmed sort of off in the corner in the shadows, and it's
the sort of terror of the thuggish man coming for you across the room, or down the corridor or across the field, and you're looking out the window. And so it did play on that.
And there's an estate agent character who's in the wraparound who keeps coming into the story because he's often showing the people around the house, and he seems to know more than lets on to the...
He came across as sort of like the Peter Cushing character in Doctor Terror, or the Satan character with Burgess Meredith, where he's like, come with me on a journey. You won't fall for it, will you? Or maybe you will. And it's like he breaks the fourth wall, and that was nicely done, I think. So I'm glad that this was the first story because it's possibly the silliest, but it's quite good.
I think the last one is probably the silliest.
The last one's really silly. The last one's really silly, but I did like the sort of lore of it and the
This one does break
the campness of it.
It does, break the traditional horror thing, and this is what Amicus do quite a lot, is that it's slightly tongue-in-cheek and slightly the twist is a bit implausible or a bit funny, or
but
there's kind of more weirdness in Amicus than there is in Hammer, I think.
That's the thing. This is weird. Like we were talking about this with Lynch, it's that over breakfast this morning in the hotel we were talking about how Lynch, it's that thing of the darkness of men, and it's like behind the white picket fence there's the sinister goings on, and I think Amicus did that very well, which is like these upper class English gentlemen and these dainty women, blonde women swanning about, and actually they're all just bloody demons and monsters, and under the surface we're all horrible and we'd all kill each other if we got the chance.
I guess 2 and maybe 3 of them sort of focus on the kind of the female as well as the instigator of stuff, or the muse or whatever. Like in the second one, we've got Waxworks with Peter Cushing.
Yes. Oh, he was so great in that one. I thought it's one of Cushing's best performances, actually.
He plays retired stockbroker Philip Grace, who's recently lost his wife, and Cushing, I think, was going to lose his wife this particular year, 1971. So he's moved into the house to retire from his stockbroker life, and he's just looking forward to playing records and country walks.
Yeah, and they're saying, aren't you going to be a bit lonely? He's, oh, no, I've got plenty to do. I fill my days, and then the wonderful Joss Ackland, who's an old friend of his, comes in to see him, and Cushing has discovered this odd Waxworks museum, which is like a cross between the London Dungeon and Madame Tussauds. And like he's sort of going around tutting and rolling his eyes and stuff. But you've seen this photo of Cushing's ex, his wife, he's a widower, isn't he? And
was it his wife or was it his?
I think it was his lover, wasn't it?
His lover, because Neville,
he and
his
Joss
friend,
Ackland,
sort of says, you and I could have neither of us could have possessed her.
That's true. He says, we're not winners, are we? We both lost her. So she's clearly, and then she went off with someone, and then they found out she died. So they're both sad about it. So they're sort of like broken men, aren't they? Because they both love the same woman.
Yeah. And
this woman's face turns up on the waxwork of one of the women. You're like, oh, is it like a vision? Is it like a hologram, or is it are they imagining they're seeing this woman? And the creepy as hell Waxworks manager looms up behind them and starts telling them the story. Oh, these are all murderers, and then they can't resist going back. Joss Ackland particularly stays in town, and
which is weird. It's like, well, why are you Grosvenor? Why are you going to a wax museum? It wouldn't be the first place that I'd think of if I was staying in town for the day.
It's clearly like it's the obsession with this woman that's died, and obviously, but Joss Ackland, I think he only died recently, actually, a couple of years ago. I thought he'd live forever. He was 95, but he's got that fantastic sort of biscuity voice, Joss Ackland, and
it's lovely to see him and Cushing together, because you rarely get to see Cushing play just a reasonably well-adjusted guy in a play. His warmth is
he's a gentleman.
Very warm.
Yeah, he's a real gentleman, isn't he? I felt really sorry when he was walking through town as that young couple bump into him. Oh, he's terribly sorry. And you're like, oh. Yeah,
you kind of feel as though you're getting a bit more of the real Peter Cushing.
Yeah, maybe. I think so. Well, apparently he was lovely. So, yeah. And then, he looks fantastic in this. He looks very dapper and handsome. And so gradually, they get lured into this Waxworks museum. And then the twist. And I actually didn't guess the twist.
No.
Which was that the woman. Yeah. There's a big fight, basically, and the Waxwork manager is trying to stop them from, getting involved. And they hit the head of the... you find out before that she's embalmed. It's the actual woman. Salome, she's actually the woman that they've both lost. Yeah. And she went off with the Waxworks guy, and he's embalmed her, so that when there's a big fight, and she gets smashed in the head and the skull is underneath. And I thought that was quite good. But again, it was super cheesy. But that's what we're looking for in these films.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. No, it was good. It was creepy.
It was creepy
segment, and the obsession that the Joss Ackland Neville character has about he can't leave town, and Peter Cushing keeps finding him. He says he's left.
Don't go there. Yeah, he says don't go in there. I'm afraid I must.
Yeah.
because I have diplomatic immunity. That's what a lot of people think of with Joss Ackland is Lethal Weapon 2.
Yeah. So
I have diplomatic immunity. So yeah, I thought it looked the whole film looks amazing. I think the cinematography is incredible.
Yeah.
And it's got that beautiful sort of Eastman colour sort of wash where everything's slightly dreamy. And there was some amazing scenes with Cushing. Like his face acting was amazing. Like there's a slow-mo shot of him working his way forward towards the camera. Yeah. And there's so much emotion on his face. And I thought Cushing was brilliant in this. I think it's one of his best, definitely one of his best Amicus performances, I think.
Yeah, he always gives good value for money. It's interesting to see the house becoming a bit of a character in a film, like repeating through these sequences.
Yeah.
I think they could have maybe made more of that, but yeah.
Maybe, because it sort of got to the third one with Christopher Lee, and you start thinking, oh, okay, I get it, the house is, but we haven't spent enough time in sort of going around the house and showing the house as an entity.
Because they do film the same. For instance, Peter Cushing is going for a walk around the house and he's on the river, and it's the same one where he saw Dominic the Strangler in the previous episode. And
it's very limited.
Night, and
it's the geography
nice to
of it.
That kind of enclosed world.
Yeah, it's a bubble, isn't it? Yeah, the house is beautiful. I wonder, I have to look up where it is and maybe go there if it's still there, because it's probably Buckinghamshire, isn't it? They're always down somewhere nice like that. But yeah, the third segment, and then again it cuts to the detective going, absolute rubbish. Am I supposed to believe that, that there was a dead woman in a waxworks museum and this is how it goes on? And then the next one you get Christopher Lee in a sort of classic Christopher Lee role.
He's very reserved and quite dislikable because of the way he treats his daughter, isn't he? He's not sure why.
They've lost the wife.
Yeah.
And he's very sort of, the little girl is terrified of fire.
Yes.
And you think, oh, right, she's been abused or something that's traumatic has happened in her past. And he's the very strict father, doesn't let her play with dolls, throws her doll on the fire.
Yes.
The nanny is trying to bring out what's wrong with this little girl.
Old Julie Andrews.
Yeah, she's trying to go all Mary Poppins on her. And she sort of coaxes a performance out of this little girl, and gradually this little girl starts, you think, oh, what a creepy little girl. And then you think the father, Christopher Lee, is really strict. Like, why is he not letting his daughter do all this stuff? And then the nanny starts seeing the kid and hearing the kid talking about witchcraft.
Yeah.
Why are you reading about witchcraft? And sort of gradually it's the voodoo doll thing. She starts like getting her dad's shavings from his razor, and she nicks a load of candles and creates a wax image of him. She has created an image of me in wax.
Why would you do that? Like, even if there was a witch, why would you be? Yeah. Like, presumably his wife was doing this to him as well. Maybe he should have thought.
Well, that's true. That's
Why is my wife trying to kill me?
Yeah. What is that? Is she just a bad seed witch? Like, she always the husband? Like, you don't get a sense that Christopher Lee's character is a bad guy.
No.
But this is what he had to.
Put up with.
Either that or he killed his wife because she was a witch, and now the daughter's getting revenge. But you don't really.
You don't. Yeah, that was never really explained.
No, you're sort of left to believe. Okay, is this kid evil, or is she justified in throwing her dad's wax model on? Because she starts stabbing it with needles, and then he's in his bed going, "Oh, the pain, the pain." So again, it's on a cheesy surface level.
Yeah,
you're like, okay, she's created a voodoo doll of a dad. Okay. They are broad strokes, these films.
Yes,
it's like, okay, we're going to have
the detail.
You can't really, especially not in a 15, 20-minute portmanteau story. It's like, you have to have the writer who's cursed by his creation.
Yeah.
You have to have, the father who's got a witch for a daughter, and you have to have the wax museum with the dead woman in it. They're very broad strokes, but if it was a feature, it would be much more sort of nuanced, and you kind of got to get to the point. So after 10, 15 minutes, you're like, right, what's the twist?
Yeah.
Which is what they criticize portmanteau movies for this, don't they? Because they're like...
something's coming and
something's coming, and it's going to be cheesy, and it's going to be quick, and...
Yeah.
Yeah, very broad strokes. But that's what I love about portmanteau movies. I look forward to them. And as we've proven, especially with block short stories, they don't often stretch out to feature length, especially things like The Skull.
No, oh God, no, that's the problem with those other films. And then we get the final segment, which brings in the character who's been disappeared from the first part of the wraparound, Paul Henderson, the famous horror actor.
John Pertwee.
Yes.
Who turns up looking and like the Doctor he was playing at the time. I've just watched Spearhead from Space, which is the first John Pertwee adventure, and because he gets earthbound because the TARDIS doesn't work, he's been banished. It's because they ran out of budget. I think that he can't ride the TARDIS around in the John Pertwee first series, so he rides around in this car. And I was like, is that the car from Doctor Who that he drives in?
Yeah. He gives a brilliant Lovey performance, doesn't he?
It's great. He's such an arrogant actor.
It's all, and it was, reading about this film later, you find out that it was supposed to be, the director was going for this really kind of grand kind of comedy thing, comedy horror. Yeah. And that's how this segment almost feels as though it was filmed first, because this really plays it for laughs until the producers, I think, told the director, this is not what we want. This is an Amicus film. We're not doing a comedy film.
That's it. And I think John Pertwee was playing it like a parody of Christopher Lee, because they were friends, and so he was playing, but they didn't realize that. But I think they obviously edited it down to be as serious as possible. He just comes across as a pompous, stuck-up actor.
It's still a very amusing performance.
It is, and then but the vampire scenes where he's with his teeth and stuff, that does come across as comedy. It's a bit Dracula Dead and Loving It, isn't it? Where he's floating up and going, "Shee!" But it's great to see John Pertwee in anything because he's wonderful and he's got an amazing face and voice and that. Again,
I think that's the great thing about these portmanteau horrors is you can maybe go for slightly different genres in each of. You don't have to weave these different genres throughout the film. You can just have a segment, and this is our comedy segment, and this is our really kind of body horror segment, or this is our
it's interesting
psychological stuff.
I nearly made one of these about 10 years ago. There was a horror writer I was working with. It didn't end up coming to fruition, I think, because they couldn't get the money, or the person who was going to put the money up changed his mind, but it was going to be a portmanteau of 3 stories, I think, set in and around a cinema. And it was sort of, the curse of, and the usher was involved, and it was, people had turned up to watch some movies, and the movies were cursed. I think it's been done before, but it was going to be that kind of story. And it was interesting because I didn't have to worry about anything particularly deep. So I think in this, they're like, we'll have fun with this one. It's like, we'll have a few days on set. We'll do the vampire one. But again, I think the production's fantastic. Then he turns up and there's that great shot of the model castle and John Pertwee's sort of looking at it. And then they look at the set they've built basically, and he goes, any similarities between this model and this set are entirely coincidental. And then he starts twatting the wall with his cane. Look at it. And they go, that's just been painted. He goes, well, that's the problem, isn't it? And then he gets the script. He's like, low budget films and stuff like that. So I wonder if that is a sort of...
It's very self-referential, this segment.
Of Christopher Lee, I think. You can imagine Christopher Lee did hundreds of movies, and I can imagine, obviously, the absolute professional, but I can imagine sometimes he turned up and it was like, here we go with another one of these.
And I've done 100 of these. Wasn't he, as well?
He was, yeah. That's the thing. It's got some of the great British actors in this, sadly all deceased now, but...
So that, Pertwee's thing is, I'm a serious horror actor, and this is all beneath me. I need to work with.
Which would be the worst attitude to have if you were being hired for a movie. This is beneath me,
And then there's a great one where he said, it's not like the old Universal monsters, Boris Karloff and things like this. Not this new fella who plays Dracula.
I know, I love it.
Having a bit of a dig at his friend, Christopher Lee.
Yeah, it's got its tongue firmly in its cheek, doesn't it? I did love that. That would get a big laugh. But I really like the John Pertwee one. I think it got criticised at the time as being overly silly, but I'm like, did you see the rest of the movie? I mean, sure, they were dramatic actors, and John Pertwee is more of a comedy actor.
And with Ingrid Pitt as well, that's a really good pairing as well.
Ingrid Pitt, who's, you just knew she was going to put the cloak on and become basically, we haven't discussed the story of this, which is the shop that he goes to rent his cloak for the character he's playing. He said, I want something old and sort of, full of character and history. And so the old man in the shop says, well, I have this cloak for you. And he gives it to him for a song. Yeah. And basically John Pertwee, every time he puts the cloak on at midnight, he turns into a vampire and starts sucking blood. So he tries to suck Ingrid Pitt's blood and all this stuff. And then at the end, she switches it out for a prop cloak and she puts the robe on and floats up, and you're like, oh great, Ingrid Pitt has to be a vampire lady, doesn't she? Because that's, that was her whole thing. I think she's really well known for this particular role. And
I love that the reason for bringing John Pertwee into one of the vampires is apparently all the vampires have admired his work in these films and thinks he would make such a great vampire that they have to claim him as one of their own.
I love that, and I love the fact that
really good.
The proprietor of the shop turns out to be the old vampire whose cape this is, and he was looking for a successor. And at the end, the detective, the way it wraps up the whole film is the detective comes in and goes, I don't believe there's a vampire living in it, that's not real. And he goes to the shop and John Pertwee rises comically from the coffin and gets staked. But then Ingrid Pitt comes out and she's a vampire and she comes for him. So it's got that nice ending and he sort of cowers at the end. And overall, I thought this was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed every part of it.
Well, there's the sort of payoff even after that where Stoker, the estate agent, breaks the fourth wall again. And this happens again and again in Amicus, that you're drawn in, you're asked as the audience to think about what you're seeing and why you're seeing it. And he asks, have you understood what's happening yet?
Yes.
What's the thing is with this house?
Yes, that it takes on the character of its tenant.
And I kind of like, well, that's a little bit of
that's
a stretch,
on the nose, yeah. But then he goes, maybe you'd be interested in having a look around.
If you're the right sort of person.
Which is very Hitchcock, isn't it? Very sort of William Castle.
Yeah, that was, we'd had sort of Hitchcock's on Presents television shows at this stage, which I assume was, very much this would have been influenced by.
Well, it's very Robert Bloch as well. And Robert Bloch, obviously, I don't know if Robert Bloch worked with Hitchcock to do there's that famous trailer for Psycho, which is about 5-10 minutes long. And it's, Hitchcock going around going, well, this is where the mother lived. And she was a terrible, grasping woman, very, very dominating of her poor son. And I can't say any more. And he's going around and then he goes, these are the apartments, 13 apartments. And it just reminded me of that. It's that showmanship of like, it's very camp, which is what I love about it. It presents itself as a movie while you're watching the movie. It's not saying at any point but that's what I love about it. That's what I liked about the segment where he's sort of like come into the Waxworks Museum and you think this is cheesy, but then he tells the story and you're almost like, it's almost like with Burgess Meredith, his character in, oh my God, what was that film called?
Oh, yes.
Honestly, we're not Amicus experts. We're just analysing each film. I've forgotten the one with Burgess Meredith.
Not at our best.
And no, I've only had 2 coffees. And you sort of realise that he's saying, "Oh yes, I'm cheesy and I'm corny and stuff." But then he starts talking to you, and you actually feel genuinely creeped out. Like, "Oh, hang on a minute.
Yeah,
I've got the hairs on the back of my neck standing up." Even though it's a carnival atmosphere, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yes,
they're saying, "We know you think this is ridiculous." But you're in it now, and you are part of the story, which is what I always loved about.
And we get that's taken to an extreme as we get to The Beast Must Die as well. But we won't.
Do you know? It's funny because I was looking at the list of. I think this is number 8 or 9.
Yeah,
and we've got maybe 10 more Amicus films to cover, so we're nearly halfway through. And Beast Must Die is, I think, like in about 8 or 9 films' time, which is great because I think it's like one we've been building up to.
Yeah.
But we're talking another good another few months and another 8 or 9 episodes before we get to that.
And next time we have 1971's I, Monster, and it's Cushing and Lee again, but not a portmanteau. So it's psychiatry and scruples, I think, in a Jekyll and Hyde-esque tale. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that one. We will at some point as well have a special guest on, and we will be watching Dead of Night.
Oh, yes.
Maybe at the halfway point in a few episodes' time, but we want to watch Dead of Night, which is a 1945 film, which is hugely influential on Amicus. It sort of built the idea in their heads of making this kind of stuff. But yeah, we've got a couple of special guests lined up in mind anyway. Hopefully they'll come on. They both said yes. So
lovely stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, that was The House That Dripped Blood, a rather classic movie, I think.
Yeah, I think it's right up there. So we'll look forward to next time.
When we'll be in different parts of the country again.
Yes. But leave any comments, keep in touch, tell us what you'd like us to cover beyond Amicus.
Yeah, because there will come a time when we are doing that. And also, if you are a fan of horror magazines, get this latest issue. At the moment, it's December 2025. But get that issue of Dark Side magazine, the one with Catherine Deneuve on the front, because my film, Whoops, is in it. There's a fantastic horror writer who's been very supportive of my career called MJ Simpson, and he's written a really great feature on movies that didn't get a mainstream disc release, And Whoops is in it, which is my sort of Ealing style, Hitchcock style serial killer comedy.
And a very fine film it is.
I'm
as
rather
well,
fond of it,
Whoops.
yes. So, and it is available to watch on YouTube. So if you go to my website, which is mileswatts.com, you can look at most of the movies I've made, including Whoops. So again, thanks for listening. Thanks for your support, and we'll see you next time.
Nice. See you next time.
Bye-bye.